On a quiet evening in the small town of Greenfield, Missouri, a young woman's life was tragically cut short. Cadence Porter, a beloved second-grade teacher in the Greenfield community, was found dead in her home on the very night of her wedding to Everett Sinclair, a respected local preacher. What should have been the start of a new chapter of joy and celebration for the happy couple quickly turned into a horrific nightmare. Cadence's family and the entire close-knit community of Greenfield were left reeling, as the shocking truth emerged. Cadence had been killed by her own husband, Everett, after she discovered a deeply personal secret he had been hiding from her for years. As we delve deeper into the details of this tragic case, we'll uncover the events that led to Cadence's untimely demise and the devastating impact it had on all those involved. This is a story of deception, betrayal, and the devastating consequences that can arise when insecurities and a thirst for power spiral out of control. It's a cautionary tale that serves as a stark reminder of the importance of honesty, vulnerability, and mutual understanding in the foundations of any healthy relationship. The murder of Cadence Porter sent shockwaves through the Greenfield community, shattering the trust and faith that had once united its members. In the aftermath of this tragedy, many were left grappling with questions about how such a horrific act could have occurred, especially within the walls of a marriage that had been celebrated and revered. As we explore the complex web of emotions, motivations, and systemic issues that contributed to this heartbreaking outcome, we must also consider the broader implications of this case and what it can teach us about the dangers of unchecked insecurities, the abuse of power, and the critical need for open and honest communication in our most intimate relationships. Before we continue, I want to encourage all of you, our loyal True Crime Tales HQ viewers, to like and share this video. Your engagement helps us bring more of these important stories to light. And be sure to drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments section below. We'd love to hear your insights and perspectives on this case. Most importantly, if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. That way, you'll never miss another episode of True Crime Tales HQ and the gripping stories we have in store for you. Now, let's dive back into the tragic events that unfolded in Greenfield on that fateful night. In the picturesque town of Greenfield, Missouri, Cadence Porter and Everett Sinclair were the embodiment of the American dream, a devoted Christian couple who had found each other and built a life together within the close-knit community they called home. Cadence's story began in the nearby town of Willow Grove, where she was raised in a deeply religious household. Her father, Reverend Michael Porter, was a beloved and respected figure in the local church, known for his powerful sermons and unwavering commitment to his faith. Cadence's mother, Sarah, was a devout woman who instilled in her daughter the importance of moral principles, kindness, and service to others. From a young age, Cadence was drawn to the teachings of the church and the sense of community it provided. She spent countless hours attending Sunday services, participating in youth groups, and helping her father with various outreach programs. It was this early exposure to the church that would ultimately shape the course of Cadence's life, both personally and professionally. After graduating from the local high school, Cadence decided to pursue a career in education, driven by her desire to positively impact the lives of young people. She excelled in her studies, earning a degree in elementary education and quickly securing a teaching position at the Greenfield Elementary School. Cadence's infectious enthusiasm, boundless patience, and genuine care for her students quickly made her a beloved figure within the school community. While Cadence's life in Willow Grove was marked by a deep sense of purpose and fulfillment, Everett Sinclair's journey had been a bit more complex. Born and raised in the nearby city of Riverdale, Everett came from a family with a long history of involvement in the church. His father, Reverend Elijah Sinclair, was a respected and influential figure in the local religious community, and Everett grew up immersed in the teachings and traditions of the faith. However, Everett's path to the pulpit was not a straight one. As a young man, he had struggled to find his place in the world, grappling with a deep-seated insecurity that had plagued him for years. You see, Everett's lifelong struggle with feelings of inadequacy and insecurity had become a heavy burden, profoundly shaping his attitudes and behaviors within intimate relationships. This insecurity had made it difficult for Everett to form meaningful romantic connections, as he constantly lived in fear of being rejected or ridiculed by potential partners. It was this fear of intimacy and the desire to avoid the mistakes of his past that ultimately led Everett to pursue a career in the ministry. By devoting himself to the church and the teachings of the Bible, Everett found a sense of purpose and belonging that had long eluded him. He threw himself wholeheartedly into his studies, eventually becoming a charismatic and respected preacher in his own right, commanding the attention and admiration of his congregation. It was at a regional church conference that Cadence and Everett first crossed paths. Cadence had been invited to attend the event as a guest speaker, sharing her experiences as a dedicated Christian educator. Everett, who was serving as one of the keynote speakers, was immediately captivated by Cadence's poise, intelligence, and unwavering faith. Over the course of the conference, the two struck up a conversation, quickly realizing that they shared a deep connection rooted in their shared beliefs and values. Cadence was drawn to Everett's powerful oratory skills and his evident commitment to his faith, while Everett was captivated by Cadence's gentle spirit and her genuine desire to make a positive impact on the lives of others. As the conference drew to a close, Cadence and Everett found themselves reluctant to part ways. They exchanged contact information and, in the weeks that followed, began a tentative courtship that quickly blossomed into a deep and abiding love. Cadence was smitten by Everett's charisma and devotion, while Everett was enamored by Cadence's kindness, intelligence, and unwavering faith. For Cadence and Everett, their relationship was a true testament to the power of love and the transformative nature of faith. They were determined to build a life together, one that would serve as an inspiration to their close-knit community in Greenfield. And so, with the blessings of their families and the enthusiastic support of their fellow parishioners, Cadence and Everett embarked on a new chapter of their lives, exchanging vows and becoming husband and wife in a joyous ceremony that brought the entire town together in celebration. Little did the people of Greenfield know, however, that beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect union, a dark and sinister secret was slowly taking root, a secret that would ultimately lead to a tragic and shocking outcome that would forever change the lives of all those who had once held Cadence and Everett in such high regard. As we delve deeper into the events that unfolded on that fateful night, we'll uncover the complex web of emotions, motivations, and systemic issues that contributed to this heartbreaking tragedy. It's a story that serves as a stark reminder of the importance of honesty, vulnerability, and mutual understanding in the foundations of any healthy relationship. As the newlyweds retreated to the privacy of their marital suite, the joyous atmosphere that had permeated the Greenfield community during the wedding celebration quickly gave way to a palpable tension. Cadence, her heart still fluttering with the thrill of becoming Everett's wife, eagerly began the intimate process of undressing, her delicate fingers slowly peeling away the layers of her husband's meticulously tailored suit. However, as Cadence's hands explored the contours of Everett's body, she made a startling discovery that would shatter the very foundation of their relationship. Hidden beneath the carefully crafted image of the respected preacher was a deeply personal secret that Everett had guarded with his life, a secret that would ultimately be his undoing. Cadence's eyes widened in shock as she caught sight of Everett's penis, one that was drastically smaller than what she had expected. She overlooked it and tried to make love, but to her greatest shock, Everett could perform properly. He had erectile dysfunction. In that moment, the illusion of the perfect, God-fearing husband crumbled, and Cadence was faced with the harsh reality of her husband's deeply rooted insecurity. "I can't do this, Everett," Cadence pleaded, her voice quivering with a mix of confusion and disappointment. "I waited so long, and this is what I'm left with. I'm sorry, but I can't stay in this marriage. I'm going to file for divorce." The word struck Everett like a physical blow, shattering the last vestiges of his composure. His carefully constructed persona, the very foundation of his respected status within the Greenfield community, was now in jeopardy. Driven by a desperate need to maintain his image and hide this shameful secret, Everett lashed out with a fervor that Cadence had never witnessed before. "How could you do this to me?" he shouted, his voice trembling with a mixture of anguish and rage. After all these years, after everything I've sacrificed, you're just going to throw it all away? Cadence, caught off guard and overwhelmed by the sudden shift in her husband's demeanor, found herself frozen in fear, unable to comprehend the depth of his anguish and the lengths he was willing to go to protect his carefully crafted facade. The confrontation that ensued was a brutal and terrifying display of Everett's true nature. He raged and pleaded, his once soothing voice now reduced to a guttural, primal scream. Cadence, her heart pounding with a mixture of shock and dread, tried to reason with her husband, begging him to calm down and see the situation from her perspective. "Everett, please," she implored, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know this is hard, but we need to talk about this. There has to be a way we can work through this together." But Everett was beyond reason, his desperation fueling a reckless and dangerous spiral. As Cadence made a move to leave the room, he lunged forward, his hands reaching out to grab her with a ferocity that Cadence had never witnessed before. He pushed her with full force, hindering her from leaving. Cadence stumbled backward, her back colliding with the ornate dresser that stood against the wall. The impact was jarring, and Cadence felt a sharp pain shoot through her head as it struck the solid wooden edge with a sickening crack. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as Cadence's body crumpled to the floor, her lifeless form motionless and unresponsive. Everett stood frozen, his hands still outstretched, the realization of what he had done washing over him in a wave of horror and disbelief. The respected preacher, the pillar of the Greenfield community, had become a murderer, his desperation to maintain his carefully crafted image and hide his shameful secret driving him to commit the ultimate act of betrayal. In the deafening silence that followed, Everett's mind raced, the weight of his actions crushing him with the gravity of their consequences. He had taken the life of the woman he had sworn to love and cherish, shattering the very foundation of the relationship they had built together. The once joyous wedding night had been transformed into a horrific scene of violence and betrayal, shattering the illusion of Cadence and Everett's perfect union and leaving the Greenfield community reeling in the wake of this unimaginable tragedy. As the realization of his crime began to fully sink in, Everett's panic set in. With trembling hands, he rushed to the phone and dialed the emergency services, his voice cracking as he reported the incident to the authorities. Within minutes, the Greenfield police arrived at the scene, their sirens piercing the eerie silence that had settled over the town. Everett was promptly arrested, his hands still shaking as the officers placed him in handcuffs and led him away. The community that had once revered him as a man of God now looked on with a mixture of shock, horror, and betrayal, their trust in their beloved preacher utterly shattered. The investigation that followed would uncover the dark truth behind Everett's actions, exposing the depth of his insecurities and the lengths he was willing to go to protect his carefully crafted image. Cadence's lifeless body, her once vibrant spirit snuffed out by the man she had trusted with her heart, became the tragic centerpiece of a case that would rock the foundations of the Greenfield community. As the details of the murder emerged, the residents of the town were forced to confront the harsh reality that the man they had once held in such high regard was capable of such a heinous act. The image of the respected preacher, the pillar of their community, had been shattered, replaced by the chilling reality of a cold-blooded killer driven by his own twisted desires and a desperate need to preserve his reputation. The crime scene, once a symbol of the joyous union of two beloved members of the Greenfield community, now stood as a grim testament to the devastating consequences of unchecked insecurity and the abuse of power. The once pristine marital suite had been transformed into a macabre tableau, a stark reminder of the fragility of trust and the horrific depths to which a person can sink when their sense of self-worth is threatened. In the aftermath of Cadence's murder, the people of Greenfield would be forced to grapple with the haunting questions that this tragedy had raised. How could the man they had trusted and revered have committed such a heinous act? What dark secrets had he been hiding beneath his carefully crafted facade? And how could they ever begin to heal from the deep wounds that this betrayal had inflicted upon their close-knit community? As the sun rose on the somber town of Greenfield, the residents awoke to the devastating news that had shaken their close-knit community to its core. The beloved second-grade teacher, Cadence Porter, had been brutally murdered on her wedding night, the victim of a shocking act of violence committed by the very man she had vowed to love and cherish for eternity, the respected preacher, Everett Sinclair. The news spread like wildfire through the town, igniting a wave of disbelief, sorrow, and outrage that threatened to consume the community. How could the man they had trusted and revered as a pillar of their faith have committed such a heinous crime? What dark secrets had he been hiding beneath his carefully crafted facade of piety and virtue? As the authorities descended upon the Sinclair marital suite, the crime scene was a grim and somber sight to behold. The once pristine room had been transformed into a macabre tableau, a stark reminder of the fragility of human life and the devastating consequences of unchecked insecurity and the abuse of power. The investigators, their faces etched with a mixture of determination and sorrow, meticulously combed through the evidence, piecing together the harrowing events that had unfolded on that fateful night. They were struck by the sheer brutality of the attack, the violence with which Everett had lashed out against his wife, his desperate attempts to maintain his carefully crafted image driving him to the ultimate act of betrayal. But as the investigation deepened, a far more disturbing pattern began to emerge, one that revealed the true extent of Everett's deception and the lengths he had gone to in order to protect his reputation within the Greenfield community. Through a series of interviews with the couple's friends, family, and parishioners, the investigators uncovered a troubling history of Everett's insecurities and his unwavering determination to conceal them from the world. Time and time again, witnesses recounted instances where Everett had gone to great lengths to maintain his image as the perfect, God-fearing husband and preacher, even if it meant resorting to manipulation, lies, and, ultimately, violence. The evidence painted a chilling picture of a man consumed by a toxic combination of pride, fear, and a desperate need for control. Everett's insecurity about the size of his penis had been a source of shame and anxiety for him for years, and he had gone to great lengths to ensure that this secret never saw the light of day. As the investigation delved deeper, it became clear that Everett's actions on the night of the murder were not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of a lifetime of deception and the abuse of power. The respected preacher had skillfully woven a web of lies, using his charisma and influence to maintain his status within the Greenfield community, even as he harbored a dark and dangerous secret that would ultimately be his undoing. The detectives, their faces etched with a mixture of determination and sorrow, pored over the evidence, painstakingly piecing together the events that had led to Cadence's tragic demise. They were driven by a relentless pursuit of the truth, fueled by a desire to honor the memory of a woman whose life had been so cruelly and senselessly taken. The weight of this tragedy would linger in the air, a constant reminder of the fragility of human relationships and the dangerous consequences that can arise when unchecked insecurity and the abuse of power are allowed to fester and grow. The people of Greenfield would be left to confront the difficult questions that this case had raised, forced to redefine the very nature of justice, redemption, and the fragile foundations upon which their community had been built. As the trial against Everett Sinclair began, the defense team launched a strategic effort to portray him as a victim of his own deep-seated insecurities and psychological struggles. They argued that Everett's lifelong shame over the size of his intimate attribute had pushed him to the brink, leading to the tragic and unthinkable act. However, the prosecution refused to be swayed by this narrative, methodically building a case that painted a far more sinister picture of Everett's actions. Central to their strategy was the testimony of several witnesses who provided a glimpse into the preacher's troubled past. One by one, women from Everett's life before he became a respected member of the Greenfield community took the stand, recounting their own experiences with his insecurity and the lengths he would go to conceal his perceived inadequacy. They described how his desperation to maintain a facade of masculinity and power had driven him to manipulate and even abandon relationships, unwilling to risk the humiliation of being rejected. These testimonies served to undermine the defense's portrayal of Everett as a victim, revealing instead a pattern of calculated deception and the abuse of his position of authority. The witnesses painted a portrait of a man consumed by a toxic combination of pride and fear, willing to do whatever it took to preserve his carefully crafted image, even if it meant resorting to violence. As the trial progressed, the prosecution methodically dismantled the defense's narrative, presenting a wealth of evidence that corroborated the brutality of the attack and the premeditated nature of Everett's actions. Forensic analysis, security camera footage, and the testimony of investigators painted a chilling picture of a man who had knowingly and deliberately taken the life of his wife. The residents of Greenfield, once united in their reverence for Everett, now watched in horror as the dark truth of his crimes was laid bare. The community, still reeling from the loss of Cadence, found themselves grappling with the devastating realization that the man they had trusted and admired was capable of such a heinous act. As the trial reached its climax, the weight of the evidence against Everett became increasingly difficult to deny. The once respected preacher, his carefully constructed facade of piety and virtue shattered, now faced the very real possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. The outcome of this trial would not only determine the fate of Everett Sinclair but would also shape the very fabric of the Greenfield community, forever altering the way they viewed the world and the people they had once held in the highest regard. As the trial against Everett Sinclair reached its climactic conclusion, the residents of Greenfield held their collective breath, the weight of the community's grief and betrayal palpable in the air. The testimony and evidence presented had painted a harrowing portrait of a man consumed by his own insecurities, a respected preacher who had resorted to the ultimate act of violence to preserve his carefully crafted facade. When the jury finally delivered their verdict, the courtroom fell silent, the tension thick enough to be palpable. Everett Sinclair, the once revered leader of the Greenfield community, was found guilty of second-degree murder for the brutal slaying of his wife, Cadence. The judge's words rang out with a solemn gravity as he pronounced the sentence, life in prison, with the possibility of parole after a minimum of 25 years. The harsh reality of Everett's fate sent shockwaves through the community, the weight of his actions finally sinking in. For Cadence's family, the verdict offered a bittersweet sense of justice, their grief mingled with a profound sense of disbelief. They had entrusted their beloved daughter to a man they believed to be a pillar of virtue, only to have that trust shattered in the most devastating of ways. The life sentence, while a necessary consequence, did little to ease the ache of their loss or the knowledge that Cadence's vibrant spirit had been snuffed out by the very person she had vowed to love and cherish. The residents of Greenfield, once united in their reverence for Everett, now found themselves grappling with a complex tapestry of emotions. Shock, sorrow, and a deep sense of betrayal permeated the community, as they struggled to reconcile the image of the respected preacher with the cold-blooded killer that had been revealed. In the aftermath of the trial, the town's once idyllic facade crumbled, the cracks in its foundation exposed for all to see. The trust that had once been the bedrock of Greenfield's close-knit society had been shattered, replaced by a pervasive sense of unease and a desperate need to understand how such a tragedy could have unfolded in their midst. As Everett Sinclair was led away in handcuffs, his head bowed in a futile attempt to conceal the shame that now consumed him, the people of Greenfield were left to confront the harsh realities of their own complicity. How had they allowed themselves to be so thoroughly deceived? What other secrets lay hidden beneath the veneer of their community's apparent perfection? These questions would haunt the residents of Greenfield for years to come, as they grappled with the aftermath of this devastating betrayal. The trial's conclusion marked the end of one chapter, but the path to healing and redemption would prove to be a long and arduous one, requiring the community to confront its own demons and redefine the very nature of trust and accountability. For Cadence's family, the verdict offered a small measure of solace, but the pain of their loss would never truly fade. They would carry the weight of their grief, knowing that no sentence could ever truly atone for the life that had been so cruelly and senselessly taken. The memory of Cadence's vibrant spirit would serve as a bittersweet reminder of the fragility of human existence and the importance of cherishing every moment. As the town of Greenfield slowly began to pick up the pieces, the shadow of Everett Sinclair's crimes would loom large, a constant reminder of the devastating consequences that can arise when unchecked insecurity and the abuse of power are allowed to fester and grow. The community would be forever changed, its residents forced to confront the harsh realities of the world they thought they knew and to redefine the very foundations upon which their lives had been built. In the wake of the devastating trial and Everett Sinclair conviction for the murder of his wife, Cadence, the once idyllic town of Greenfield found itself grappling with the aftermath of a tragedy that had shaken its very foundations. For Cadence's family, the pain of their loss was a constant companion, a weight that they knew would never fully dissipate. Yet, in the midst of their grief, they found the strength to channel their anguish into a powerful force for change, determined to ensure that Cadence's legacy would not be forgotten. Guided by a deep desire to honor their beloved daughter's memory and to prevent others from suffering a similar fate, Cadence's family established the Cadence's Refuge Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to advocating for honesty, transparency, and mental health awareness in relationships. Through workshops, support groups, and public awareness campaigns, Cadence's Refuge sought to shed light on the often overlooked issue of insecurity and its corrosive impact on intimate partnerships. The organization's mission was to empower individuals to confront their own demons, to seek help when needed, and to build relationships founded on mutual trust, respect, and vulnerability. Cadence's life was tragically cut short, but her spirit will live on through this foundation, Cadence's mother, Sarah, declared at the organization's inaugural event. We will not allow her death to be in vain. Instead, we will use it as a catalyst for change, to ensure that no one else has to endure the pain and betrayal that our family has suffered. As the Cadence's Refuge initiative gained momentum, it became a beacon of hope for communities across the country, a testament to the power of resilience and the transformative potential of grief channeled into positive action. The broader implications of the Sinclair case reverberated far beyond the borders of Greenfield, sparking important conversations about the dangers of blind faith, the consequences of unchecked insecurity, and the critical need for open and honest dialogue within relationships. Mental health professionals, relationship experts, and community leaders alike rallied around the cause, recognizing the universal nature of the issues that had led to Cadence's untimely demise. They emphasized the importance of addressing underlying psychological struggles, of fostering a culture of empathy and understanding, and of rejecting the societal pressures that often compel individuals to maintain a facade of perfection at the expense of their own well-being. This case serves as a tragic reminder that the pursuit of image and status can come at a devastating cost, said Dr. Emily Wilkins, a renowned psychologist and a member of Cadence's Refuge's advisory board. We must be willing to confront our own insecurities, to seek help when we need it, and to build relationships founded on genuine connection and mutual understanding. As the years passed, the Cadence's Refuge Foundation continued to grow, its impact rippling through communities across the country. Countless individuals found solace and empowerment in the organization's programs, sharing their own stories of overcoming adversity and reclaiming their right to authentic, fulfilling relationships. In Greenfield, the scars of the Sinclair tragedy remained, a constant reminder of the fragility of trust and the importance of vigilance. Yet, the town also found itself transformed, its residents more attuned to the warning signs of insecurity and manipulation, and more willing to speak up and seek help when needed. The legacy of Cadence Porter, the vibrant young woman whose life was so cruelly cut short, lived on through the work of the foundation that bore her name. Her memory served as a poignant testament to the power of love, vulnerability, and the unwavering determination to create a world where honesty, empathy, and mental health are celebrated as the cornerstones of healthy, fulfilling relationships. As the town of Greenfield and the broader community continued to heal and evolve, the lessons of the Sinclair case remained a powerful reminder of the consequences of unchecked insecurity and the importance of confronting our own demons, no matter how daunting the task may seem. For in doing so, we honor the memory of those who have been lost and pave the way for a future where trust, understanding, and genuine connection are the pillars upon which we build our lives and our relationships. As the powerful story of Cadence Porter and the tragic consequences of Everett Sinclair insecurities and deception comes to a close, we invite you, our viewers, to join us in reflecting on the profound lessons and implications of this harrowing case. The events that unfolded in the once idyllic town of Greenfield serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of trust, the dangers of blind faith, and the critical importance of addressing our own psychological struggles and insecurities before they spiral out of control. We encourage you to share your thoughts, insights, and personal experiences in the comments section below. What resonated most with you throughout this story? How can we, as a society, work to foster a culture of openness, empathy, and mental health awareness within our relationships and communities? The establishment of the Cadence's Refuge Foundation stands as a testament to the transformative power of grief channeled into positive action. We invite you to learn more about this important organization and consider how you might contribute to its mission of advocating for honesty, transparency, and mental well-being in relationships. Together, we can honor the memory of Cadence Porter and ensure that her legacy lives on, inspiring others to confront their own demons, seek help when needed, and build relationships founded on mutual trust, respect, and vulnerability. So, please, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. By engaging with this content and spreading the word, you can help amplify these crucial conversations and empower others to take the first steps towards healthier, more fulfilling relationships. The story of Cadence and Everett may have come to a tragic end, but the lessons it imparts can serve as a powerful catalyst for positive change. Let us use this opportunity to reflect, to grow, and to create a world where the pursuit of image and status no longer comes at the expense of our mental well-being and the sanctity of our most cherished relationships. Thank you for joining us on this powerful journey. We look forward to continuing this important dialogue with you, our valued viewers.